This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City. We're getting 10,000 migrants a month. Now we're getting people from all over the globe have made their minds up that they're going to come through the southern part of the border and come into New York City.
All right, we're at the Row, New York City, which is the Migrant Hotel, which was the NYPD said it once a very nice place. It's being trashed by the migrants. They're throwing away the food. They're saying it's not good enough. They're demanding not to leave the hotels. A near riot almost happened at one of the hotels here. You can see that in the news. The scooters, they're saying up to half of them, in their opinion, are stolen property. This is an absolute it's a disaster. As Americans, citizens, New Yorkers, Mayor Adams has them in filthy shelters, living in violent shelters, filthy streets with rats, as the migrants are selling watches that look to be stolen property, keychains. When the robbery down the street happened from the man's store, he was robbed of keychains. A lady from El Salvador was trying to sell me keychains while she was highly intoxicated. This is a disaster situation, as we have the migrant situation destroying New York City, and it's coming toward you as 1 out of 3 of the migrants are traveling.
You're not welcome! You're illegal! Let the man go!
It's so crazy to watch all this upheaval, all this anger, all this outrage over these illegal immigrants in New York City, because the leaders of New York City, the governor Kathy Hochul and the mayor Eric Adams, they're the ones who led the charge into instituting these pro-illegal immigration policies. They're the one holding on to the status of sanctuary state, sanctuary cities. They're the ones who incentivize these illegal immigrants to come to New York. If you come to New York, you get all types of free stuff. You get free lawyers, you get free health care, you get free housing, you even get free housekeeping. It's insane. And now that it's hit them in the pocketbooks, because that's where it really matters, now that it's hit them in the pocketbooks, all of a sudden they want to renege. All of a sudden they don't want the migrants there, but they're part of the left, so they're afraid to come out and directly say, get the hell out. But all of their actions are showing that's exactly what they're thinking. So we're going to talk about what exactly is going on over there in New York, give an update on the migrant crisis. This is the Bicycle Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the Bicycle Merch Store, your premier source for thoughtfully curated merchandise that celebrates traditional values and is committed to the indispensable idea of government restraint. Explore a unique collection starting with the Supreme Style tinfoil hat, a statement piece that embodies our commitment to critical thinking and pushing back against the norm. Make a statement with the Free Trump shirt, boldly displaying the captivating mugshot of the former president, which instantly became the most famous picture in the world. At the Bicycle Merch Store, we're more than just products. We're a community dedicated to celebrating and defending traditional values. Sign up for promotions and receive 10% off your very first order. Don't miss out on these exceptional items. Embrace tradition, champion freedom, and shop now at tvsmerch.com. Okay, so New Yorkers are mad right now. They're pissed off because their leadership has decided to go against their will. They feel deceived. They're feeling a bit buyer's remorse. Originally, it was their will because we've historically had these massive influxes of illegal immigrants coming into the United States. But historically, the vast majority of these immigrants, these illegal immigrants, stayed in Texas or California and Arizona, and some of them went to New Mexico. So they all stayed close to the southern border, close to Mexico. But after decades of Democrats gaslighting about the issue, acting like it was not a problem at all, after Joe Biden has shown that he refuses to do anything to slow the influx of migrants. In fact, Joe Biden has instituted policies, or should I say Joe Biden's handlers, because he's not running the show. Joe Biden's handlers, the people who really run the United States, they've instituted policies that incentivize illegal immigrants to come in. For example, when an illegal immigrant comes in, all they have to do is find a border patrol station. They go there, they say, look, I'm an illegal immigrant. I just came in. I'm seeking asylum. They process this person and they said, okay, you have a court date 8, 9, 10 years from now. And until your court date, you're free to go into the United States. We call this catch and release, even though some Democrats want to lie and act like this isn't happening when we know for sure it's happening. So this has been happening in Texas. These southern border towns in Texas, they're being ravished. The resources in Texas, they're being drained. California population is expanding like crazy because they're being hit with millions of illegal immigrants. So what Greg Abbott did, the genius governor, Greg Abbott, he decided to send the problems directly to the Democrats. He said, if you guys don't want to do anything about this, I'm going to start sending these illegal immigrants to New York City. I'm going to offer them free bus rides to Nueva York. So when these guys get there, when they cross the border, and they're offering free bus rides, they'll tell the migrants, look, you can stay in these trash border towns. You know, cartel members are in and out. There's a lot of violence going on. There's not many economic opportunities. Or you can take this free bus ride to Nueva York. And of course, they gladly go to Nueva York because everybody apparently loves them some New York City. So tens of thousands, in fact, over the last 18 months, well over 100,000 illegal immigrants have hit New York City. So Eric Adams, all these leftists in New York who are acting like, oh, it's not a problem, everything's good. If you have a problem with illegal immigrants, you must be racist. All those people who said this stuff, now they're having second thoughts. So that's what I meant when I said these voters have buyer's remorse, because they were brainwashed into believing that we need a more diverse America. We need to let these people in. We're the beacon up on the hill, come one, come all. So they followed along with Democrat leadership with these BS policies. And now that they're feeling it up close and personal, the voters don't want it. They're saying no, they're angry as hell. So we're looking at this headline here. 2/3 of New Yorkers blame Biden for migrant crisis. And over half of them agree that it'll destroy New York City. That's what Eric Adams said. He received some backlash from that, but it looks like most of his own constituents agree with him. Having all these migrants, 10,000 migrants enter New York City a month, 10,000 illegal immigrants. I should say illegal immigrants, because all of these reports, including Fox News here, all of these reports want to call them migrants because apparently it's racist to say illegal immigrant, to call them what they actually are, which is a bunch of nonsense. So all of these Democrats have made, they got a poll out and it's showing that people are blaming Joe Biden for this. Eric Adams is probably going to be a one-term mayor because he came in at the wrong time. He came in thinking he was going to be the former cop and try to crack down on crime in a leftist type of way. He was going to make some money, chill, get some status, build himself up, build up his profile. But he came in right around the time Greg Abbott and his team came up with this genius idea to send the migrants to New York City. So Joe Biden, Eric Adams, Kathy Hochul, the governor who inherited the office, they are in the heap of trouble. We're looking at this. It's saying that 64% of New Yorkers disapprove of Joe Biden's failure. This failure. So before Greg Abbott and Texas started sending these migrants to New York City, it was all good. Joe Biden, hey, no problem. You're doing a fantastic job with illegal immigration. Everything's good. New Yorkers walking around with their chest out. Oh, those people down there in Texas are racist. They're evil people. See, we're good. We're good people. We're in New York. We're the good people. We love illegal immigrations. But you guys are just a bunch of racist bigots. All right, well, let's see how you really feel. So now these New Yorkers are saying hell no to this. So you go to New York, 91% of Republicans are saying absolutely not. Now the big one, 72% of independents, 72% of independents are angry at Joe Biden about the border crisis. And of course, the Democrats, they're still going to be on board for the most part because it's Democrat leadership that's instituting these policies. So 48% of Democrats say Biden is not doing such a good job. So 52% of Democrats are still in line. 52% of Democrats are saying it's all good, even though their own neighborhoods are being ravished. This is what brainwashing does, people. They're taking your tax money, taking your resources, taking schools, taking apartment buildings, hotels, all of this stuff, spending your money on illegal immigrants. They're getting free food, free phones, free Xboxes, Nintendo Switches, going to school, getting backpacks full of all types of free stuff, literally getting free laundry services, getting people to go and wash up after them, clean their rooms and everything for free, while these Democrats in New York have to pay for all these services. And 52% of them still say, oh, it's all good, it's okay. But You're going to expect that from Democrats. Republicans and independents are seeing the writing on the wall. So it looks like Kathy Hochul, Eric Adams, and Joe Biden, they're all going to be in a heap of trouble come the next election cycle. So 200,000. We heard Eric Adams earlier say 10,000 migrants a month. Over the last month, 200,000 migrants crossed the southern border. And a large chunk of those people went up to New York City. A lot of them went to Chicago too, but we'll get to Chicago in a different video. 200,000 migrant crossings in the last 30 days. An insane number. Over 3 million. Some reports are saying 7 million, but over 3 million since the beginning of last year. 3 million illegal immigrants entering the United States. And the Democrats are totally okay with this because 2 out of 3 of these illegal immigrants vote for Democrats. And you might ask, what you mean illegal immigrants votes? Why do you think these voter laws are wide open? Why do you think you don't need an ID? You don't need anything to prove who the hell you are when it comes to voting? You can just walk up to a voter station and say, yeah, this is my name. I'm here to vote. They're not going to question you. They're just going to let you vote. So illegal immigrants are voting. And then, of course, they're going to produce children who are going to vote Democrat decades from now. So that's the whole plan. And people talk about the great replacement theory, and then you say, oh, you're conspiracy theories. Nobody's trying to replace white people in the United States. Well, it seems like you're flooding the United States with illegal immigrants from all across the world, except for Europe, of course. You don't want too many of those Ukrainians coming in. You'll take all the Africans, you'll take all the people from Latin America, Middle East, because you know you can brainwash them into voting Democrat. All you got to do is just say, hey, look, the Republicans are racist, vote blue. And 2 out of 3 of them are going to vote blue. So that's the Democrats' whole game with this. And it was designed for Texas because Texas is the biggest red state. So they were planning to flood Texas with illegal immigrants until Texas turns blue like they did California. The plan isn't working so well when Texas is sending the illegal immigrants to other states. So we've had 200,000 crossings, 10,000 a month in New York City. New York City is being completely overwhelmed. There's this video about the hospitals in New York. They're above capacity. You would think there's some type of actual pandemic going on with the amount of people surging into these hospitals. They've serviced over 30,000 illegal immigrants in the last 18 months. 30,000 visits from illegal immigrants who don't have insurance. What does that mean for people who have insurance? If you're in New York, your insurance, your health insurance costs, your copay, all that is going up. Why is it going up? Because you guys are paying for illegal immigrants to get service. So you go to work every month, they suck up that massive chunk out of your paycheck for your health insurance. Some of that money is going to the hospital to cover illegal immigrants. They've delivered 300 babies in the last 18 months. New York City hospitals are reporting 300 babies. So we're talking about anchor babies. These illegal immigrants, a lot of them coming in pregnant intentionally. They're not seeking asylum. They're just trying to get in the country. They come in pregnant intentionally to have that baby on U.S. soil. So the baby is listed as a U.S. citizen and you have an infant U.S. citizen. So you're not going to deport his mom. So that's their plan on staying here. And then obviously they're going to brainwash this kid to vote Democrat eventually. Then you have legal aid services in New York. The taxpayers pay to have these legal aid services. There's a wait list of 10 months. You want to talk to a lawyer, you need to get some paperwork with a paralegal, get something done. There's a 10-month waiting list because these illegal immigrants have been given priority. So you were a taxpayer New Yorker. You wanted to talk to a lawyer about your issue. But they say, look, this illegal immigrant who just came from Venezuela, who's not a citizen, never paid taxes and doesn't give a damn about the city. Well, they need to talk to the lawyers. So they have priority of you. They've been able to skip the line and regular New Yorkers asked out. And these New Yorkers, they're just sitting here taking it. They're just sitting here taking it on the chin, letting Eric Adams do them like this. They're not calling for a recall. They're not calling for a special election to get them the hell out of there. Anything like that. They're just saying, there's nothing we can do about it. In fact, more than half of the Democrats in New York are still saying it's a good thing, even though their own pocketbooks are being affected by it. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. But even though there's not a revolt going on in New York right now, people aren't going crazy. Eric Adams and Kathy Hochul, they still see the writing on the wall. So let's take a look at this.
New York City is offering migrants a free one-way ticket to anywhere in the world. City's established a new re-ticketing center in Manhattan where asylum seekers can pick up a ticket. The effort is New York's latest bid to ease pressure on its shelters and finances. More than 130,000 asylum seekers have arrived since last year. City's mayor warned shelters are so full, migrants will soon be forced onto the streets as winter approaches.
So now they want them to get the hell out. That's what I was saying. They don't want those migrants there. They've been overwhelmed. 10,000 migrants a month, over 100,000 migrants. They know when these voters go to the polls, they're going to throw them the hell out of office. These people know that they can't manage their cities like that. Eric Adams has called for a 15% budget cut in every department in New York City across the board. It's causing them billions of dollars. He's projecting $12 billion over the next 3 years. But I say, you got 72% of independents who are against this, 91% of Republicans, but I'm still wondering though, because based on what we've seen before, what a lot of these Democrats do, they will get online, they will get on social media and bitch about it. They'll make it seem like they are tired of Eric Adams, they were tired of Democrat leadership, whatever Democrats are doing to him. And what they'll do is they'll continue to vote blue. So they'll re-elect the same person, like Gavin Newsom, for example, with the California recall with Larry Elder and all of them, when he was trying to get rid of Gavin Newsom, and those voters who were bitching and crying about Gavin Newsom, they went and voted for Gavin Newsom again. The people in Chicago with all those high crime rates, all that stuff going on, they got rid of Beetlejuice Lori Lightfoot, but they picked a person that's worse than her. So you might have these high disapproval ratings of Biden, of Eric Adams, Kathy Hochul, them, but what's probably going to happen is they're going to either vote blue and re-elect these same people, or they're just going to pick another left-wing activist who's just going to continue to ravage the city. So I'm showing these polls showing that there's a possibility that something could happen in New York City, but the population of registered Democrat voters in New York is so high that they may not be able to change the direction of the city. This city is probably going to be destroyed the way Eric Adams is saying it is. It's just way too many brainwashed sheep. A lot of these people are just completely misinformed. And a lot of these people are just sheep. Like, they'll say F Biden, and then a couple months later, they'll go vote for him. So, yeah, good luck in New York. Maybe something will change. Maybe these polls are showing that they'll get somebody like a Giuliani in again. Maybe they'll pick better leadership. Maybe they'll go Republican. But based on modern Democrats, man, these guys are probably going to vote blue. And they're going to just continue to crush themselves. They're going to continue to screw themselves. So let's talk about some of the costs going on here. So they've already spent damn near $3 billion over the last 18 months with all these migrants coming in, 100,000 migrants in the last 18 months. And like I said, Eric Adams is projecting $12 billion over the next 3 years, $4 billion a year, which basically is enough to fund the NYPD twice. So y'all taxpayers, this is where your money is going. They spent $1 billion in hotels alone. We got luxury hotels renting out, hotels that were going for $250 a night, $300 a night, even hotels that were $500 a night are being rented out and given to illegal immigrants. So you have the Row NYC, that was a luxury hotel, that was a $300 a night hotel. The New York City government rented out the entire building and gave it to migrants. We have over 1,000 rooms in here, and these migrants, they don't appreciate this. It's a luxury hotel, but they don't give a damn. They have completely destroyed this hotel. Look at this headline here. You're talking about drugs, sex, violence, underage drinking, and they have housekeeping at these hotels. Can you imagine that you come to a country illegally? You get a luxury hotel for free. You get phones, you get a PlayStation, you get food, you get clothing for free. You get a housekeeper to come to your luxury hotel room and clean up after your nasty ass every day. Imagine that. Wow, these people are living luxury. That's why these people continue to come. You come to New York, you're going to get a housekeeper to scrub your toilet every day in a luxury hotel. And then, speaking of washing, you have these laundry services going on in New York. They spent millions of dollars. Let me look at these numbers real quick. So they spent well over $10 million on one contractor. We're talking about just doing laundry. So they'll come up to these shelters, to these hotels, pick up the migrants' laundry, and then bring them back, washed and folded and all that, completely free, because the New York City taxpayers are paying for it. So $10 million to one contractor. There are 4 other contractors in New York City that combine for $23 million. One contractor is called Sodexo Laundry Services. They're the ones who got that $10 million contract. I don't know who these people are. I'm going to have to dig deeper into this. Are they related to Eric Adams? Does he have stake in the company? What's the relationship going on? Because it seems like some money laundering. We're talking about laundry. It seems like some money laundering going on. We got CRC Management Company. They just signed a new contract, $1.1 million, to wash the drawers of illegal immigrants. It's amazing. It's like, y'all are getting played so hard up there in New York City. Then let's get back to the Road NYC, that hotel. They've been reporting 2 to 3 babies being delivered there a week. So the hospital's delivering hundreds of babies. The Row Hotel alone is producing over 100 babies, 2 to 3 babies a week. This hotel is running a full-blown baby mill, a full-blown factory of anchor babies, right there at the Row NYC. Then the other hotel, what's it called? The NYMA. That same thing's going on here at this hotel. Little children were literally abandoned by their parents. Parents used the children as an excuse to come here. Once they got to the hotel, they literally abandoned the kids. They didn't go to the store and come. No, they left, abandoned the kids. These kids were literally found drunk. We're talking about 9 and 10-year-olds, drunk little children abandoned by their parents. But I thought they were just here because they were escaping violence and all that. It looks like the parents left them so they can just go live their best life without the weight of a child, without the weight of children with them. Also at this hotel, one of the housekeepers was assaulted by illegal immigrants. These illegal immigrants claimed that one of the housekeepers stole a necklace, which apparently wasn't true, but these illegal immigrants, they probably stole the necklace because we see this going on. They assaulted the housekeeper, and did they get deported? Hell no. They just got sent to another luxury hotel. Can you imagine that? Somebody coming in here, scrubbing the toilet after your nasty ass, after you illegally crossed the border. You get a luxury hotel. They vacuuming up after you, throwing away your garbage, scrubbing your toilet, cleaning up your shower area. You accuse them of stealing. You slap them. No consequences. They just move you to another hotel. And they actually investigated the hotel worker and were threatening to fire her. Ain't that some shit? So my message to y'all New Yorkers, a lot of y'all doing all this, posting on TikTok and on Instagram, talking about how terrible it is. Y'all all in the comment sections talking about this is the bad thing. And I saw some of y'all did try to protest when AOC was there. But my message to y'all is y'all need to try harder. Y'all need to not let this go. Push it to no end. Y'all need to find ways to get rid of Eric Adams sooner, to get rid of Kathy Hochul sooner, because they're screwing y'all. They're showing you where their priority is. All these services that you have to pay thousands of dollars for, all of this food, housing, lawyers, medical care, Nintendo Switches, PlayStations, laundry services, housekeeping, all this stuff, they're getting completely for free because you taxpayers are paying for it. And where's Joe Biden? Joe Biden isn't addressing this. Joe Biden isn't showing up to New York to look at the damage being done. He's not talking to y'all about how much money is being drained from y'all. Joe Biden doesn't give a damn. You see what he cares about. When that thing happened in Israel, this dude flew across the world to check on them. He said, Israel, our puppet Israel is in trouble. Let me go over there and show my face to show that I give a damn. Y'all voted for him in droves in 2020. Y'all hated Trump. Trump is bad. Trump is so terrible. Y'all voted for Biden in droves. This man doesn't give a damn about you. So another message, abandon this man. Abandon Joe Biden just like he abandoned you and vote for somebody else. But I seriously doubt y'all do that. So we're going to move on to another story. We're going to talk about the House Speaker race because we finally have a House Speaker. Let's take a look.
As we have been reporting, Republican Congressman Mike Johnson of Louisiana has been voted the new House Speaker. This comes after 3 unsuccessful weeks of various speaker bids and chaos and confusion and legislative paralysis. It also happened while candidates for the Republican nomination are in the throes of primary season.
So the GOP was having a whole civil war over this because we have the typical neocons, the George Bush era Republicans. We have the Republicans who are well entrenched into the uniparty. We have these Republicans who just want to go along to get along. So whatever they need to do to remain in power, to collect some donation money for their campaigns so they can enrich themselves. We have all these types of Republicans. And unlike the Democrats, the Republicans are not a hive mind. You remember how AOC was supposed to go in there and shake up things? She was supposed to start some type of Democrat revolution, get them to move the party away from the establishment. And Nancy Pelosi spanked her and put her in line. You see how they were calling Bernie Sanders a revolutionary and he was going to change things and shake things up big time. They screwed him out of 2 elections and he fell in line because the Democrats are a hive mind. They just go along with what the powers that be in their party want. They're not allowed to step out. Unlike that, the Republicans actually have individual thoughts. So Matt Gaetz and 7 other Republicans were against Kevin McCarthy to begin with. They didn't want him to be the House Speaker, but he had to cut deals with them. And one of the deals was to rein in the spending. So Matt Gaetz them back in January, after 15, 20 votes, they eventually helped to vote Kevin McCarthy in for Speaker of the House. And one of the provisions was that one person can call for a vote to have Kevin McCarthy ousted. So we had this whole thing going on with the government about to shut down. A lot of Republicans are seeing what their voters want, and the voters don't want all this funding to continue to go to Ukraine, which is a black hole, a full-blown money pit, a waste of money, except for the government contractors, the defense contractors. It's not a waste of money for them because they're getting rich off of it. But for the taxpayers, it's a black hole. So these Republicans were against this spending. So look, we're not going to lump Ukraine in with funding for other things. We're not just going to make some gigantic bill and just push it through like we normally do. Because Kevin McCarthy was saying, look, everybody, let's just get in line. Let's just create this gigantic 5,000 page bill that none of y'all are going to read, and let's all just vote on it. Everybody get paid. Everybody go home. Matt Gaetz them said, you know what? We tired of you, man. We're not dealing with this. Matt Gaetz was saying that it looks like McCarthy was trying to cut some backdoor deals with the Democrats. So he called for Kevin McCarthy to get ousted. And because the Republican majority is so slim, it only took Matt Gaetz and his crew plus the Democrats to get Kevin McCarthy out of there. So that threw things into full-blown chaos because now the House, for the first time ever, was without a speaker. He was the first speaker to ever be ousted from the House. They had a temporary speaker, but that temporary speaker didn't have the full speaker power. He was just sitting in the seat. So they were saying, okay, what now? Because Matt Gaetz them didn't have a backup plan. They just said, look, you are establishment. You're cutting backdoor deals with Democrats. You're not trying to help on spending, like you said. You are not good enough for us. You're too lefty to run things. So we don't know who's going to replace you. We just know it can't be you running the show. So they got them out of there, and the Republicans are scrambling. Like, who can we get? Who can we get? And remember, the majority is so slim that the entire Republican Party, all the Republicans in the House, have to agree on who it's going to be. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. So they came up with Steve Scalise. But the problem with Scalise is he's also a little establishment type, and he's not conservative enough, allegedly. A lot of people like him, but another issue was he has cancer, and he's dealing with that. So people are saying, I don't know, we should vote for this guy. He needs to be worried about his family and his medical condition. Then you got a guy that a lot of people love, Jim Jordan. I actually would have liked to have him as the House Speaker. He didn't want to do it, but he was talked into it. They eventually put him up for a vote. The Republicans in public said they were going to support him. When it came down to the vote, they actually didn't support him. I think it was 3 rounds. He went for 3 separate votes to become the Speaker, and he lost every time. The Republican Party didn't want him. The establishment didn't want him. The MAGA wing of the Republican Party, Matt Gaetz and his crew, the America First caucus of the Republican Party, they actually wanted Jim Jordan, but the Uniparty and the establishment said hell no. So they actually voted again to kick him out of the running. So the Republicans agreed, okay, we're going to have Tom Emmer. He's been in for a while. He's a majority whip. So we're going to select him. So the Republicans chose him as their speaker designee. And within hours of them selecting him, Trump came out and said, yeah, that guy's a rhino. We don't want him as Speaker of the House.
Tom Emmer, it looks like he's finished. He was not a supporter, he was a writer, and it looks like he's finished, but we'll see. You never know.
Do you support anyone else for Speaker, sir?
I'll let you know. The trial is
Before there was even a vote, Tom Emmer said, "God damn, I guess it's not me." So he withdrew. So what's that? 4 people, including McCarthy, 4 people that are no longer wanted as House Speaker. And this went on for weeks. So finally, they selected on the guy. We need somebody who the establishment can like, but also the MAGA Republicans and America First Republicans. We need somebody who doesn't have an extremely long tenure in D.C., who doesn't have a lot of enemies. So they went with Mike Johnson. And the first question was, who the hell is Mike Johnson? Which is a good thing, because we don't need somebody who's been there for like 20, 30 years, who's deep into the swamp like Kevin McCarthy was and like Nancy Pelosi was on the Democrat side. We don't need anybody like that to be the Speaker of the House. So let's look at Mike Johnson's introductory speech.
My dedicated wife of almost 25 years, Kelly, she's not here. We couldn't get a flight in time. This happened sort of suddenly. But we're going to celebrate soon. She spent the last couple of weeks on her knees in prayer to the Lord. And we stand at a very dangerous time. I'm stating the obvious. We all know that. The world is in turmoil. But a strong America is good for the entire world. We're only 247 years into this grand experiment. We don't know how long it will last. But we do know that the founders told us to take good care of it. I want to tell all my colleagues here what I told the Republicans in that room last night. I don't believe there are any coincidences in a matter like this. I believe that Scripture, the Bible, is very clear that God is the one that raises up those in authority. He raised up each of you, all of us. And I believe that God has ordained and allowed each one of us to be brought here for this specific moment in this time. This is my belief. I believe that each one of us has a huge responsibility today to use the gifts that God has given us to serve the extraordinary people of this great country, and they deserve it, and to ensure that our republic remains standing as the great beacon of light and hope and freedom in a world that desperately needs it. That our national motto, "In God We Trust," was adorned above this rostrum. And if you look at the little guide that they give tourists and constituents who come and visit the house, if you turn in there to about page 14 in the middle of that guide, it tells you the history of this. And it says very simply, these words were placed here above us. This motto was placed here as a rebuke of the Cold War era philosophy of the Soviet Union. That philosophy was Marxism and communism, which begins with the premise that there is no God. This is a critical distinction. America is the only nation in the world that is founded upon a creed. And he said it's listed with almost theological lucidity in the Declaration of Independence. What is our creed? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, not born equal, created equal. And they are endowed by the same inalienable rights, with the same inalienable rights: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. That is the creed that has animated our nation since its founding, that has made us the great nation that we are. And we're in a time of extraordinary crisis right now. And the world needs us to be strong. They need us to remember our creed and our conceit to you all.
So that's a look at Mike Johnson. That's the new Speaker of the House for the time being. We'll see in another year and a half, January 2025, who the House Speaker is going to be then. Are they going to select Mike Johnson again? That's if they can even hold on to the majority. But a lot of people are mad about it because you heard him talking about prayer, about God. So people saying, oh, this isn't a religious country. You can't force your religion on us, even though they try to force all that trans to kids crap and all that sun monster crap, which is very religious. Like they try to force it on Christians, but when a Christian representative in Congress talks about prayer, oh, it's a problem. These demons, it's not that they're anti-religious, it's that they don't like the religion of Christianity because they have their own demonic religions. But he's making enemies on the left already. Eventually, they're going to be calling him a white supremacist, just like they do to others. And then some people on the right and the left, people are saying, oh, he doesn't have enough experience. He just got in 2015, 2016. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's going to do a terrible job. Look, first of all, this is a good thing. We don't need somebody who has 20, 30 years of experience, because these guys are entrenched in a swamp. And another reason why we don't need somebody like that is because we need term limits. So if you've been in Congress for 20, 30 years, your ass don't need to be there to begin with. You shouldn't be able to be in Congress long enough to have that much experience. I call for the House of Representatives to have a 4-term limit, 8 years. So if you've been in this thing for more than 8 years, you're disqualified. So I think it's good that somebody like him, he hasn't had the chance to build all these relationships with Big Pharma, with the military industrial complex, with Big Oil, even though I'm pretty sure that he's in bed with them to a certain extent, but not as entrenched as somebody who's been there for decades. So it's a good thing. But one thing I don't like about him is this guy said the first thing that he's going to do is pass a resolution of supporting Israel. He's going to send billions of dollars. He's going to agree with the Uniparty, agree with the Democrats, and award the people in the military industrial complex billions of more taxpayer dollars. Well, not even taxpayer dollars, print money to send over there. So he's agreeing to send, I think it's $15 billion dollars over there to aid Israel, even though the United States, every year the United States gives the Israeli military, the IDF, gives them $4 billion. So you're already giving these guys billions of dollars a year. So they get into a war. Why the hell do you need to continue funding it? Aren't you already giving them the billions of dollars? So if you need to give them $14 billion now, what the hell were they using the money for to begin with? The money you gave them last year, the year before, and the year before. Where the hell did that money go? If you all of a sudden need to make an emergency resolution and send these guys billions of dollars. So I don't like that. You coming into the second most powerful position in the country, the House Speaker, more powerful than the Vice President. You coming into this position talking about another country. We got all problems going on at home, but you, just like Joe Biden told the New Yorkers, I don't give a damn about you, just like he showed the Hawaiians and the people in East Palestine over there in Ohio, he showed all these people, look, I don't give a damn about y'all. I'm going to go to Israel and play buddy-buddy with Benjamin Netanyahu, give him a hug and all of that. And now we got on the Republican side, we got the new House Speaker. Look, I know we got all types of problems. We have piss poor education. We got crime going on. People can barely afford gas to go to work. Rent prices are skyrocketing. I know we got all that going on, but look, that's not my priority. My priority is Israel. What the hell is going on in D.C., man? These people are entrenched with these Jews over here in Israel. What's going on with that? And the reason why I say Jew is because Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State, when he went over there talking about supporting Israel, it wasn't talking about what's best for Americans, what's in the best interest of the American people. That wasn't his explanation on the reason why the United States was supporting. He said the reason why is because he's a Jew. So they're spending U.S. taxpayer resources, U.S. taxpayer money, using U.S. taxpayer-funded ships, soldiers, U.S. blood, and these soldiers that they got over there in secret don't want to tell the people about. They're using all of that because they're in line with the Jews. Explain why the hell is it American interest. And I don't want to hear any of this stuff of talking about, oh, it's because we're trying to make Jesus come back because all of the prophecies in the Bible and all that. Look, man, I don't know anything about that. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. Maybe today's Israel is not the same Israel from the Bible thousands of years ago. I don't know. That can be debated. There's a whole theological debate, but these politicians are saying stuff like this, and they're saying, oh, we got to protect the Jews, but they're not explaining to the American people why they should use American resources to prioritize Israelis on the other side of the world instead of the American people. So when he gets up there and says that, I'm just like, man, you kind of lose me already. One thing that was good that he said was he's not down with this funding of Ukraine because he sees the writing on the wall. He's looking at the polls. The vast majority of Republican voters are out on Ukraine, don't want nothing to do with this anymore because they realize that they've been duped and this whole war was just a profiteering move by the U.S. government because Russia invaded Ukraine. 5 weeks later, Ukraine agreed to terms to end this war with Russia. Russia invaded in February 2022. March 2022, Ukraine and Russia had a peace deal, but the United States and the British blocked it. So the United States has chose to drag this war out way longer. And what you might ask why? Because of money. Because we can't have a war ending in 5 weeks. Look, man, if we can drag this thing out for 2 years, 3 years, imagine all the billions of dollars that we can run over there through Ukraine. Imagine all the billions of dollars that the military industrial complex can make and that we can get in kickbacks in our campaign donations. Imagine all the board seats we're going to get, like Nikki Haley, Queen neocon warmonger Nikki Haley. So it's a good thing that Mike Johnson is not down to continue sending money to this, even though he did say one thing that I think was a bit neoconish, talking about he still believes that Russia needs to be stopped and all of that. And if the West doesn't stand up and stop Russia and Ukraine, which they can't do, they show they are not capable of doing it. If the West doesn't stop Russia, then Russia is just going to continue and they're going to invade Poland next and the Baltic states after that. And then they're going to get all of Europe. So is this what you really believe, Mike Johnson? Are you really that much of a dupe? Are you one of these George Bush era neocons who talks like this? Because this sounds like some crap that Lindsey Graham would say. What are you going to say next? We need to bomb Iran? So it's some decent things about this guy, but his foreign policies, man, I just can't ride with these guys who have these mentalities of funding all these foreign wars, trying to be the world police, burning out American resources, using American blood, lying and manipulating American people with all these warmongering, fear-mongering tactics. I just can't get down with somebody like that. Outside of foreign policy, another good thing is his thoughts on two-way, on protecting gun rights, because you see we just had this shooting over here in Maine. We had the gunman on the run, and after that whole thing settled, what's the first thing Democrats said? Hey, ban guns. People shouldn't have guns to begin with. People shouldn't have these assault rifles, even though they don't even know what the hell an assault rifle is. And Mike Johnson is against all that stuff. He said it's not the time to talk about it, but I know he's going to fight to protect two-way. He's going to fight to protect people's rights to protect themselves, because your first line of defense when something like this happens is yourself. So we're actually going to move on to that story. We're going to talk about what happened in Maine, the whole situation, and the fight for the right to have gun ownership. So there was a tragic situation in Maine last week. It became, I think, the deadliest shooting in the history of the state. Maine is a normally quiet place. People don't talk much about it. Nothing goes on. You have a bunch of people up there who just live in their quiet communities. Most people are strapped, or they're okay with having guns because it's that type of community. It's the mentality of those people up there. But we had a gunman, a guy who was in the Army Reserves. He went to a bowling alley and actually wreaked havoc, man. He killed 18 people, shot up the bowling alley, shot up the bar, and he escaped. So there was this big manhunt for him. They found his body, but the state was on lockdown. The whole area was on lockdown because he was just on the loose. People didn't know exactly what his motive was. They knew that the guy had problems, but he went to a recycling plant where he used to work, and apparently he shot himself, and they found him a couple of days, I think it was 2 days after the shooting, they found him there. Rest in peace to all the victims, because Jesus Christ, man. That's some scary stuff, man. You know, you just mind your own business, family event, out there having fun, having a drink, playing some games, and next thing you know, a guy just opens fire, man. Because most people in those situations, most people's guards are down. You know, you're either drinking alcohol, you're watching your kids, you're not really paying attention, you're not thinking that something like that is going to happen. And yeah, it's just very hard. That's why it's important to stay strapped. Even when you're in a place like that, if you're in a group, at least one person, it's good to have at least one person be vigilant, you know, to actually think about safety, think about somebody actually doing that, which is kind of easy to say after the fact, because we're talking about a quiet community, nothing going on here, nothing ever happens here, and a guy just starts opening fire on people. So it's kind of like Monday morning quarterbacking. You say, oh, well, people should have done this or that, but I guess I'm saying in the future, it's good that we do it because we see how things can happen. So it's good if you're out in the group, somebody is vigilant, and if you're in a place that allows weapons, if you can be strapped, stay strapped. Because, like I just said, when things happen, the first line of defense is yourself. The Democrats want to take away guns. They want people to be sitting ducks. Kamala Harris, the SWAT, and all of them talk all this trash. Cori Bush, whatever the hell her name is, she was bitching and ranting about people having guns while she walks around with $1 million worth of security personnel. Joe Biden talks about people not having weapons, not having assault rifles and all that, but he's surrounded by men with those same weapons. So they're saying, well, hey, my guy's trained, my guy's responsible. My guy is cool to have a weapon. You can't have a weapon. So CNN actually did a little expedition. They went up there to Maine to try to stir up some crap, to try to get the people to say, look, it's bad that this guy had a gun. We need guns out of the community. That's what CNN was hoping for. But let's take a look at what CNN actually got.
What did you tell your daughter who was with you? I just can't imagine as a mother how to make sense of it and to relay that to a child.
It's just starting to be stuff like that gets real when something so big happens. It's like, okay, yeah, it really could be our school next. So we came home and she wanted to lock up right away. We locked up the windows, everything. I do have a firearm, so it made her feel better to know that I was carrying it around and had it all ready to go. Just she was scared somebody was going to come into our home, and I told her you gotta remember that odds could be so slim for that. So try not to worry so much, but I will do whatever I can to make you feel better in the meantime too.
I wanted to show you this area here. I'm over here because this is where we're told that the car was found. The person of interest, his car, this is where the car was found. And it's really close to where we were earlier, where police were doing that searching, and where they've been searching. We just saw police driving by at a rapid rate, and then there's also a helicopter now in the air as they are. Certainly, it seems as now that there is daylight, that there is, and the search is becoming more intense. And I think as this day goes on, that's only going to increase because they really don't have any idea where he is now. But this is where he dropped his car, and then where he is now is a mystery. And that's why there's so much concern around this area. Take a listen to my conversation with one of the residents here as he talked about his concerns.
It's just nerves are rattled right now. Keeping an eye on the woods, because I know those woods down there, they go run right back here. And I got my daughter inside.
Your daughter, how old is your daughter?
She's 10 years old. And my oldest daughter, she works at the Walmart DC too. And I had to message her to find out if she's okay. And it's very unnerving right now.
Seeing those officers with those long guns walking through.
That actually made me feel better. Seeing the cops coming around here, that makes me feel a million times better. In a situation like this, I wish I had a firearm.
So as you can see, CNN is playing backfire. They're trying to use a highly sensitive situation, a tragedy, for political gain, to try to get these residents to say, oh, guns are bad, guns are terrible, people shouldn't have them. But hey, you saw what these people said. It made my daughter feel better because I was strapped. Or the guy who said, hey, I got my daughter in the house. I wish I was strapped. The police came strapped. It made me feel better. And that's the lesson that we're starting to learn. More and more people are figuring out. Stay strapped. And let's look at this video here. A jewelry store was robbed. These guys were robbed a few times. And another couple of guys, it's like 4 or 5 guys, ran in with face covered and everything. And they were going to do a smash and grab diamonds and gold, and take off running and sell it to a pawn shop or online somewhere. But let's take a look at what these jewelry store workers learned.
A group of smash and grab robbers stopped by a jewelry store worker with a gun. Shocking new surveillance video showing the robbers running as soon as the worker fires right at them, chasing them out of the store. Eyewitness News reporter Shayla Girardin live in Manhattan Beach with more of that video and what happened next. Shayla.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a surprise for those thieves. They went sprinting out of this building, but not before they got away with some jewelry, and the search still on for those suspects. Chaos erupting in a Manhattan Beach jewelry store as crooks break in, smashing the glass with hammers and stealing jewelry. The robbery happening Saturday afternoon at Prestige Jewelers in Manhattan Beach. You can see the 5 crooks dressed in hooded sweatshirts sprinting into the store with empty bags. Seconds later, filling those bags with boxes of jewelry as terrified shoppers watch. Finally, a store employee using a handgun to fire toward the suspects as they run away. The store was the target of a similar robbery in 2014, the suspects wearing ski masks and stealing several items of jewelry. Today's incident comes on the heels of numerous smash and grabs, including this attempt in August. The suspect entering an El Monte jewelry store and smashes, but is grabbed by the family that owns the store, running away empty-handed and shirtless. Just last month, the LA County Board of Supervisors responding to the issue, voting to allow the Sheriff's Department to accept a $15.6 million state grant to support the department's organized retail theft task force.
Don't buy this stuff. Don't buy this stuff. And don't get caught either selling it or buying it, because you could be arrested for it.
Again, the lesson of the day, stay strapped. People try to rob you of your property, your possessions, or your life. The best way to protect yourself is to stay strapped. So I was talking about Mike Johnson earlier. That's one of the good things about Mike Johnson. He's a pro 2A guy. He's going to protect 2A. The Democrats sitting here trying to destroy 2A so they can have us all be sitting ducks. What exactly is their plan? Why exactly does the government, the Democrat Party anyways, why do they want people to be sitting ducks? It's almost as if they want to turn us into a police state. It's almost as if the people in Hong Kong, China, when the Chinese police went and hemmed them up, they were throwing rocks and trying to fight against people who were strapped, against police. It's kind of like in Canada with their relaxed gun laws, how the government ran a rush shot over them, even shut down their bank accounts. So lesson of the day, whether it's against the government tyranny, or against some lunatic on the street, you gotta be in a position to protect yourself. So let's move on to another story. Let's talk about some Hollywood news. Snow White. Snow White is facing a major delay. You guys are familiar with Snow White, with Rachel Zegler, the alleged Latina actress. Some people say she's not Latina. There's a whole different story, but the alleged Latina actress just couldn't stop running her mouth, so she completely ruined the movie before it came out. So Disney has delayed Snow White, a major delay, pushed it all the way back to 2025. We're talking about over a year. This is all according to the Hollywood Reporter. So Disney delays Snow White and LEO a year, removes Jonathan Majors magazine Dreams from calendar. So what's going on with Snow White? Disney is starting to realize that they spent $330 million on a dud. They think if they launch this movie in March next year, which they were planning on doing, that this thing is going to flop massively. We're talking about a possible opening weekend of $25 to $30 million on a $330 million movie. So they're going to lose a couple of $100 million off of this movie. That's what they're believing. So they're desperately scrambling now. There are a lot of rumors going on about this. What exactly they're doing? Are they going to do a bunch of reshoots? Are they possibly going to replace the actress? Look at this picture here. So we got the first look at the actual doors. Because remember, before this, the first images came out, said, look, we can't have doors in a movie. So they had the 7 crackheads. We saw those people look like a bunch of homeless people walking through a field. So word is that they got rid of these people after Backlash. Because remember, before we had Peter Dinklage, who made his money, he made his name in Game of Thrones, where he played a dwarf. But then he came out talking about, well, having actual dwarves play dwarves is offensive. So he made his money being a dwarf, but saying other dwarves can't do it. But then we had other dwarfs in Hollywood saying it's hard for them to get roles because people like Peter Dinklage just ruined it for him. And because all of this wokeness is wokeness in Hollywood, people don't want to cast a dwarf. Like, we want a dwarf in our movie, but if we cast a dwarf, that means that we're anti-dwarf and we're making fun of them. So therefore, we're not going to get them the job. to not offend you, we're not going to give you a job so you can make money. So it looks like now we got some CGI dwarfs. I don't know what the hell is going on here, but like I said, we don't know what's going to happen. Remember, Rachel Zegler was talking crap, making jokes about the guy in the movie, the guy who's playing the prince, talking about all his scenes may be cut. Maybe all her scenes are going to get cut, because that's what a lot of people are calling for. They say, look, just reshoot the whole thing. Every scene with her in it, redo it. Cast somebody who actually likes Snow White, not somebody who's going to talk trash about it, and cast somebody who's actually white, you know, and as in the name Snow White. But we don't know what's going to happen. Disney is keeping all of this at the hip. They don't really want to reveal the secrets right now, but I'm sure something is going to leak. We're going to find out something, but I just think it's funny as hell, man. After seeing her talk all this trash, and then Daily Wire coming out with their own Snow White movie, I think that was a nail in the coffin. They just launched, what, a 30, 45-second teaser trailer with Brett Cooper. And people are already seeing, even though that movie is probably not going to be in the theaters, it's probably going to be on Daily Wire's website on BentKey, it's still going to do way better and make more money than this Snow White. And if Daily Wire got with a big partner behind him and somehow got it in major theaters, it would annihilate Disney Snow White. Absolutely annihilate Disney Snow White. So Disney is doing a lot of backtracking. They're ducking. They see that this movie is going to lose a lot of money. So they got a couple of options here. Maybe they can just go ahead and release it. Look, you push her out. Y'all pushed all this wokeness, talked all this crap. Just go ahead and take the backlash. Get it over with. Rip the Band-Aid off. Or do what they did with that Batwoman movie, that woke Batwoman movie. Just cancel it. They spent $90 million on that Batwoman movie, full of wokeness, with a lesbian black Batwoman. They just said, you know what, we spent 90 grand, but let's just write this off on our taxes, because this is an absolute dud. It was a terrible idea, and we're going to get major backlash for it. So Disney, you got a couple of choices. Release it, get it over with, or just go ahead and cancel it and admit that y'all were completely wrong about it, and maybe 5-10 years from now, try to do better. So if you enjoyed today's episode, leave a like, share it, and I'll see you guys next time.